How long were they talking after you woke up from your nightmare?
It was a good, 10 seconds, but they were continuing the conversation, and I was in bed, petrified, so I guess there's no escape.
Welcome to the Phantom Zone. 3 fans, 1 podcast, and a sea of comics.
A whole sea of them.
I'm Noah.
Kayla?
I'm Jered.
What?
Hopefully they know this by now, is all I'm saying.
We just want to be sure. You never know.
Yeah, this could be the first episode.
I mean, that is true. There has been people that are like, oh, I started on episode 5. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, but the first one's so much fun.
Yeah. Well, there's the people that started with Aquaman. I was like, we don't make puns all the time. I swear. I tried to get them to stop.
Unless you love puns, in that case, we do it all the time.
But then they're disappointed. Well, we don't, though. So if you tell them that, they're going to be disappointed when they attempt to find punnage in the other episodes.
These people are fools. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yikes.
Anyway, so today we have a kind of a weird episode, I think. It's a different one. We're going to be talking about supporting characters. So the parameters we went with this one is no love interests or sidekicks, anything like that. So I think it's going to be a little interesting.
Or law enforcement.
Or law enforcement, right.
Oh, so that ruled out Gordon for you.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because those are all episodes unto themselves. Those are all
yeah, for sure.
discussions we can do.
Even in the Batman universe, I mean, half of the police department either turned into a superhero, or is a superhero.
Yeah. And so some of the characters,
Batman universe, say.
Some of the characters we're talking about probably still have a sidekicky feel to them.
Yeah.
But they're not literally in masks fighting crime.
Yeah.
Throwing batarangs around.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the perfect segue to the character that I am super interested in spotlighting right now?
It's the character we kind of have to talk about, I think, when we're talking about we're talking about supporting characters.
Not sidekicks.
Yeah. I don't know where I am right now.
OP supporting character is totally Alfred Pennyworth. If there was a Justice League for supporting characters, he would be the leader. He would be the Superman.
He would be.
He is
Batman would be upset about that.
I think
he would be jealous
about it.
I don't know. He loves Alfred so much.
Yeah, he's such a cool character because he's so mysterious.
Okay. So while I was doing a little bit of research, not that I mean, Alfred it's very extensive presence in the Bat comics, but I did find out his first appearance was in 1943, and he was that ex-Secret Service agent from the British. And so his father was dying. He was like, son, my dying wish is that you continue to serve the Wayne family like I did.
That's
and then he goes over when Bruce already has Dick Grayson as a ward. So it's this, the original version of Alfred didn't raise Batman. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so there's 2 questions there. Who raised Batman?
I guess from 8 years old, he just raised himself.
And then
just kidding.
This old British guy just shows up and was like, hey, I'm going to go dust your stuff now.
They didn't have the heart to turn him away.
Oh,
I know.
That was the plot of many a sitcom anyway. Mr. Belvedere. Pretty sure that's how that works. I've never seen it, but.
So anybody at that time could just walk into the Wayne family and be like, I'm going to take care of shit now.
This was all pre-Crisis on Infinite Earth. So after that, and his original name was Alfred Beagle. Not as cool as Pennyworth.
No.
He was part dog. That was another thing.
Post-Crisis.
Yeah.
Pennyworth is so much more
Alfred
British.
Pennyworth. And his background changed a little bit. He was an actor from the British stage. Again, his father's dying wish was to serve the Wayne family. Came over, had the skills. And then it was post-Infinite Crisis that fused both of those stories together, where he was an actor. He was a bodyguard for the British intelligence secret service place.
Either way, the angle on this that doesn't make any sense to me is he used to be a spy, or he used to be, I think, the SAS, right? So, that's the British Green Berets. And his dad was like, I understand that you've been doing really exciting, secret mission sorties. I'm going to need you to go to this place in America and clean sheets. That's what you need to do.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the dying wish was serve the Wayne family and not like clean their rooms.
By being a butler, though, that's like kind of the main.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you'll be a ninja butler. No, you know.
I mean, I guess it did pan out for him in the end because he could still, stitch wounds. And
I was going to say his wide array of skills is really what makes him kind of one of the best supporting characters, particularly for Batman. Because he can cook, sure, he can do butler things, but he can also stitch a gash,
or attach your arm back to your body.
And he helped raise Bruce's children because, like you always mention, when he's busy being the knight, those children are kind of directionless. So even Jason Todd has this great affection for Alfred, and I love that. Everyone loves Alfred.
I mean, that is true because he's always the constant. He's the one that the Robins or anybody would go to if Bruce is acting crazy.
Yep.
And we're like, hey, can you go talk to him? Because he's off the fucking rails.
Can you help me?
Yeah.
It is a bit much, though, the amount of skill that guy has. Because Bruce will need picking up because he's been nearly killed by Bane or something like that. And then he swoops in a bat helicopter or something like that, and then also is like, I need you to hack into this mainframe. I got my laptop right
He's
here.
Like, okay, I can help you, sir. Give me 1 moment.
Yeah, but I think another cool part of him and that makes him a great supporting character is the emotional side of it. So not all the techie and kind of badass gunslinging random martial arts moves that he can do, but he is always the shoulder for Bruce to cry on or lean on.
To brood on.
Yeah. To brood on all the time.
I love that affection isn't just within the universe. I feel like a lot of the fans love Alfred too. I know okay, there was this part in the Batman Arkham games. It was, I think, Origins. So it's it's chronologically the first one, but Alfred is in danger in one of the scenes. I'm freaking out. I'm like, what if he dies? Oh God, I've got to save Alfred. And I'm like, okay, this is the first game. He lives. I was still freaking out because I love him.
Yeah, I mean, he's everything that Bruce needs and is missing in his life.
Yeah.
He's his best friend. He's his father. He's his confidant. He's everything. And it's so weird that he's a butler. Just on the face.
He's an employee.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have paycheck disputes and stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure that Alfred has to be the one that handles all of the money.
Oh yeah, and at this point he's got to be independently wealthy.
Yeah.
I hope he's embezzling. I really do. I think
No, and I mean his feats too. There was, I believe it was the New 52 where the whole Batcave is getting overrun by stuff, and he's just taking out all these these people that work for the Court of Owls.
I mean, he does it with a shotgun. He does it with this metal bat suit.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Which, by the way, is kind of smart for them to do sparingly because it's a big moment. Because we do know he used to be some sort of spy-like badass. But I'm glad that it only peaks out every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It makes those moments even cooler.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think in the Justice League and in Batman vs. Superman, I really feel like they leaned into that.
Yeah.
Because he definitely seems more like a military type, kind of man behind the keyboard type person for Batman. So that's a kind of cool thing to see in the movies that they haven't really done. Because, I mean, before he literally was a butler.
Yeah.
And he would just be like, oh, here's just your sandwich, sir. I know you were out all night.
Then give some quippy advice with that classic Alfred sass.
Batman comes home from a long night with Catwoman, and he's like, "Cat got your tongue." Yeah,
oh my God.
Look at you.
No.
The contrast is too much because it's just. I mean, it's great and it really makes him, but it is funny to compare sometimes because he at one point snuck up behind a sentry and took him out with a knife or something like that. And then also later on, he's dusting.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. I mean, he just goes to America to serve regardless of what that meant whenever his father told him that. But it's you ended up putting on this tux, and serving these people.
That's true. He became the legal guardian for Bruce when he was 8, so he didn't know that he would be serving
crazy
Batman.
So there's a reason we kind of started with him, right? Because I think what's great about Alfred, he kind of does what every supporting, he fills all these different supporting character roles.
Yeah.
As he's both the sort of technical side, he's an assistant, he's a friend, he's a mentor, a father figure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I know this is small and it's less to do with comics specifically. He's also comic relief a lot.
Yeah. Those sassy lines.
Yeah,
man.
because like if you have Batman and he's got to be all brooding and like, God damn you, Two-Face or whatever. That's my Batman impression. And it's very serious. It's hard for him to do quippy lines.
Yeah.
So
Batman?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In that mood. So it's cool to have like an English butler that can, again, make Batman villain-based puns.
Mm-hmm.
I love that specifically English.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alfred is really cool. He is the kind of outline to what a good supporting character is.
Well, like, I feel like the Batman universe, Alfred is the most prominent and best example of supporting character, but the Batman universe had so many that we had to kind of like, no, we can't just make it about them, because Lucius Fox and Commissioner Gordon, they're all so
Absolutely.
great.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking about this on the drive over here that this isn't a total rule, but I feel like you can often tell a really good character by how many developed supporting cast members they have.
Yeah.
Because the other character that comes to mind for me is Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man, if you don't know. Because he's got so many. Like he's got J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes!
He's got Harry Osborn. He's got
Aunt May.
Yeah. He's so there's a lot of good ones.
I love Jameson.
Yeah.
That's iconic.
Yeah. I mean, and he's so cool too, because he's not just kind of this driving force for Peter's career, but he just always seems like this like yelling voice in the back of his head. Like,
yeah, they're like, he's really it's interesting because he's really interconnected to Peter's life. And I actually think that's another thing that's really important about supporting characters is that they're not just there for window dressing. They don't just pop in and out. They're
Mm-hmm.
really fleshed out. And oftentimes they end up being this sort of like, they move the plot.
Yeah, I like that they kind of like pose human problems to superheroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least like one of my favorite things about supporting characters is when it kind of like you take away the cape from the superhero, from the title, and then they're the ones that kind of introduce like kind of human problems that we can relate to.
Oh, yeah.
Not like there's a meteor hurtling towards Earth. It's more like, did you meet your deadline, sir?
Yeah.
You've been late to work for a year.
Yeah, things that you should be really thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes it realistic. Like it creates a life for these characters to live in because it's great. Like obviously, I want to see Batman or Daredevil on the rooftops beating the crap out of criminals and stuff like that. But that in and of itself can't be the only part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what's ironic about, I think, a lot of these characters is that when you read them at first, and especially if you watch the movies, you get the sense, they're just extra.
Yeah.
They're just these they're dispensable sorts of things, but they end up being absolutely crucial.
Yep.
Like, I think a character you love, Foggy Nelson.
Yes.
Like, we
I
can
love
go ahead
Foggy.
and kind of get into Foggy because I think you really don't have Daredevil without Foggy at some level because he needs to be connected to the law firm. He needs to be connected to the law.
Yeah.
Well, somebody needs to run the law firm when Daredevil can't.
Yeah.
Well, that is super dramatic and basically an essential part of the Daredevil comics. But yeah, I love Foggy. His initial creation was still very dark. So like the feel of Daredevil when it was first coming out, both Foggy and Matt were kind of like broody, dark characters. Foggy was, and kind of still is even after he lightened up, was like conflicted between his feelings for Karen Page and his loyalty to Matt. But the thing I love about Foggy and Alfred too is that loyalty always wins.
Yeah.
So like in the 80s, he became kind of like the down-to-earth comic relief type Foggy Nelson that we all know and love.
The fat guy with a bow tie. What a strong choice that
He's
is.
just slightly pudgy.
They've updated it, but
He's still pudgy. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, I love him, and now he acts as a really good foil to Matt, as opposed to just both being kind of dark and broody in the Daredevil universe. He just becomes like
that's an interesting point because I mean, a lot of these supporting characters that you can think of or that we've already talked about, they're the complete opposite of the hero when they're being the hero. So you have like Daredevil and Batman, broody, dark people.
gravelly.
Gravelly. And then you have their main supporting characters that are the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And it always just kind of brings them back down.
Yeah, Foil does. That's a good point because Foil doesn't just have to be antagonistic or the villain or something like that. Yeah.
Which like highlights opposite characteristics from the hero. And what I love about Foggy too is like when Alfred at his like coolest is doing badass things, Foggy at his coolest is doing like normal human things. Like he's really good at his job. He's a great lawyer. So those cool moments with Foggy are him being a badass lawyer. You know, he doesn't have to be a superhero. He doesn't have to like punch the bad guy to be cool.
Yeah, oftentimes Foggy is the one that sort of solves legal problems in an interesting. It also he's maybe the most unbelievable part of the series. Not unbelievable like it breaks credulity, but like the most impressive thing because he's a lawyer with a moral sense of decency.
A great, nice person.
Not real.
You mean he believes in justice?
I think he believes in not screwing people over. That's,
So justice.
Yes.
Foggy's also like the perfect example of how heroes should probably, if they really trust and love the person, like people in their lives, that they should just tell them the secret. Because the major conflict and like breakdown between like Nelson and Murdoch was Matt wouldn't tell Foggy who he was. He wouldn't confess that he was Daredevil. So he would make up really ridiculous excuses like, here's my twin brother Mike. Or, I was dead last Tuesday. That's not me. I'm not Daredevil. And so the second Foggy finds out, Nelson and Murdoch get back together.
Weird.
He's like, I'm not Daredevil. I'm a cosplay sexual fetishist. I'm not.
He just comes. I mean, it was ridiculous. If you're a hero, guys, just tell the people that you love and trust, okay?
On that note, I don't really understand the logic of not telling them. The idea is supposed to be like, oh, I'm protecting, my close, I don't know, friends and family and stuff like that. But what if the villain captures Aunt May and she doesn't know?
I feel like
they're not gonna be like, "Wow, you're good."
It leaves those supporting characters completely unprepared.
Yeah, it's not fair.
But also, regardless, he's not telling the villains.
Yeah.
So why would it affect? Are they? Is Aunt May every time she sees Spider-Man go, like, "Oh, hi, Peter"?
That would be great. It's like I can't tell you because I'm pretty sure that you will tell the shocker. I hate that excuse every time too, and they always do that, and they're always conflicted with telling that loved one whenever that loved one is in danger or just after them being in danger, or they're about to break up or whatever. It's like, just tell them.
And I'm not saying tell the person you've been on 3 dates with your secret identity, but if it's like Aunt May, or if it's like your best friend for years and years and years, I mean, come on.
Yeah, how would you not say that on a date, though? Like,
come on.
I'm Superman!
You have to build up trust.
Yeah, well, and also that if Aunt May was captured, and they're like, tell me who Spider-Man is. I know you know who it is. And she just keeps saying no because she doesn't know. They're gonna keep torturing her and or kill her. Yeah. If he's Spider-Man. Yeah. So if you're just like, he's Peter. Okay, cool. Yeah. He should be able to take care of himself.
That's a hard day for her, by the way. Like, by the way, your basically your son, your nephew is Spider-Man. I know you didn't know that. Also, now we're going to start torturing you.
And that's that happens to supporting characters all the time.
Yeah.
They're always the most tortured.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, and for completionist sake, I have to say, like, Spider-Man often doesn't tell Aunt May in the comics because he doesn't want to worry her. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. Especially the younger the depiction is, the more it makes sense, like, where she's a guardian. So in high school, like, Peter didn't want to tell her because, like, literally she could be like, no one in this house is gonna swing on webs or whatever.
Like, you're grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also he's Spider-Man, so he could just bounce.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying that's the rationale. And then another reason is Aunt May is a bit of a floozy, and she will date anybody.
Including villains?
Yeah, including villains. She dated Dr. Octopus. Like, I'm not letting her know.
She married Dr. Octopus, I'm pretty sure.
No, they didn't get married. I looked it up. They didn't get married.
What?
Yeah, they didn't get married. But they were close.
Oh my goodness.
They dated.
Isn't that that's what happens in comics? They almost get married.
I was going to marry this person, and then he turned out to be an octopus.
I don't want to be very genteel about that. They totally banged the bone. They did. They did. Okay, because they're old people.
Oh my.
Yeah, they dated.
Yeah.
Of course they did. Why?
I don't know why they dated, but Aunt May did marry, it's weird interconnected. She did marry J. Jonah Jameson's dad.
What?
So they're connected in that way.
How old is he?
Pretty darn old. And actually, it's really weird, like the way comic timing works, because like he was supposed to be in, I think, World War II. J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, because when he came out, it was the 60s. So he's older in the 60s. So it's like 20 years, 25 years prior than that, easily be a veteran and still be. But now, so they've kind of like.
But his dad has to be ancient.
Yeah.
With that
yeah. She 112 years old.
This is comics for you.
So yeah, I don't know how they've fixed the timeline or whatever.
Well, I thought they were all just frozen at particular ages, like they reach an age and then they just stop.
That's what restarts and rebirths and stuff are for.
Exactly.
Like, Aunt May now is 27 and
exactly.
But but I did want to mention too, Alfred, right? So what's kind of cool is that he's spawned 8 different copycats that themselves have become sort of important to comic history.
You mean like the Butler sidekick?
The Butler side, yeah, absolutely. And because the Avengers, if you ever want an Alfred that isn't cool and is about 40 pounds heavier, you need to get some Jarvis, because Jarvis.
I like Jarvis.
I love Jarvis. He really is fantastic. He's a fantastic character, and he, instead of the Batman thing where it's sort of just one person that he's connected to, Jarvis ends up being more like the House. In a way, he's this connective tissue with all, and there's been some really good issues where he sort of like, it's just him walking around giving all the Avengers like, oh, Thor needs some meat and some turkey. Captain America needs some, I don't know, 1940s Playboys. I don't know what Captain America would be into.
You went with Playboys instead of apple pie?
Well, I figure he's a guy, true. You know. No men like apple pie. You know, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
So he was support for basically the Avengers as opposed to like a singular superhero.
Yes, he was literally a butler. That is it.
He was also a veteran, which is bad because it feels way more ripped off of Alfred. Like,
and kind of degrading though, because it's just like, yeah, you're a veteran, cool, we'll give you a job, but you're just gonna do all this stuff. I'm not saying the character's not grateful, but it's
he's
just
got a better job than I do.
Because he serves superheroes.
Yeah. Oh, would you not do that?
Come on.
Of course I would.
I'm just, how cool would it be to be a butler for the superheroes? This would be the coolest thing in the world, because they're like, you know, Galactus is attacking and you're like, well, maybe, but I'm going to get these damn stains out of this spandex. That's what's going to happen now.
You're a part of the team, but you're not actually like throwing yourself headlong into danger.
Yeah, I mean, you would pretty much be safe though.
And then, like, another thing that I think is interesting is that just because these characters have been around for so long and they end up being, like, writers have to come up with stories, oftentimes characters that were major supporting characters, that was the role that they took. Something happens and they become superheroes themselves. Mm-hmm. They're supervillains themselves.
That's cool.
It is cool.
I mean, they're always surrounded by them, too, so...
Yeah.
It's a good chance that they would get struck by lightning as well.
Yeah.
And so you have... like 2 characters, and I have a theory. There are 2 characters that are very similar, and they went in the wrong direction, but one in the right direction. It's Jimmy Olsen and Rick Jones. Now, everybody knows Jimmy Olsen. If you don't know Rick Jones, he's Marvel's Jimmy Olsen. And I will say with Rick Jones, he had this history of sort of like hopping around to different characters. Mm-hmm. He was the alter ego for a while for Captain Marvel, the original. He would like switch places with him by smacking the negabands and like, I'm different now, whatever. Oh. Like they would go to a pocket dimension or something. He was also the Hulk's, and what do you call it? Buddy, just like tag along. And then I think he replaced Bucky for a while for Captain America.
So he's like a groupie.
He is exactly a groupie. And it's just funny because he's a musician too. He's like a rock.
Oh my gosh.
He's a rock and roll star.
Who told him who all these superheroes were?
He was basically like, if I hang around them long enough, it's going to happen to me too.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because there's actually a story where Captain Marvel, the son of Captain Marvel, Genisvel, who they end up having a similar relationship later on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like around the late 90s or whatever, where they're like alter ego-y kind of everything like that. And he calls him out for that. He's like, you have all these friends like Reed Richards and Tony Stark, and they could totally make you a superhero. But you got too much pride and you won't ask them, you fraud or whatever. It's a great moment. But anyway,
that's interesting.
but here's the thing. I think sometimes, we talk some characters. Amadeus Cho became the Hulk. Flash Thompson became Venom. Rick Jones became A-Bomb, which is like a good version of the Abomination.
Oh, I thought you meant like
A-Bomb.
Yeah.
You become the bomb.
Oh, bomb. And then Max Lord, the guy that ends up being a villain, he was like their attaché. He was a government like PR dude. It's been a while, but he had some like, wasn't he like a PR agent or something like that?
He was something weird, and he's completely different now. I mean, I like that character a lot. His progression from like supporting to he's fucking all of them up type of thing.
But he became a villain. He became a supervillain. Now he's straight up supervillain. And this is my point. Jimmy Olsen didn't do that. He stayed Jimmy Olsen, and he's still around. And I think Rick Jones isn't anymore because they kept trying to do these stories where he would get powers or something like that. And my theory is this, like, if you're a really good supporting character for writers, this is like, oh, we want to kind of tell the story that they become this other thing. I think that's almost death for them as a supporting character.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy Olsen did the same thing. Like in the beginning of his run and like for a long time, like he would become this giant monster. Yeah. He got aqua powers just like Aquaman. Yeah. Like he was just this joke.
It's like, but these are like temporary things.
Well, of course. I mean, but it was just so weird that this photographer that kept tagging along with Superman he become this big Godzilla thing and he's destroying the city.
I think that's a hilarious little like inside joke that continues.
And then I guess they kind of were just like, okay, let's like stop it with that. And now he's just a reporter that's always going to be in trouble.
And they don't know that Clark is Superman. So they don't know that Jimmy isn't just the worst lucked person.
Oh yeah.
They're like, isn't that Olsen kid 60 foot tall right now? Smashing buildings?
Again?
It's awful.
Again?
Yeah. He was just a merman. We gotta kill this kid.
Yeah, it's so weird. But they're good characters. Like they're kind of funny. I don't know. Have you watched the Supergirl TV show at all?
No.
So he's in it, and he's like this completely different type of character. He's like best buds with Superman, like how he was in the older comics. But then he moves to where Supergirl is, and he's just like, I'm going to help you out now. And then they're becoming a love interest. And I'm like, Jimmy Olsen's character in general is just always weird.
Yeah, he's unshippable, guys.
Yeah. He's kind of all over the place. It's like they kind of, he's so classic. They want to do something with him, but it's not always stories about Clark being in the newsroom.
Yeah.
So they got to kind of give him something or something.
I feel like now characters like that are kind of like a running gag. Kind of like because again, supporting characters don't always have to be like the buddies, the best friends. Yeah. One of my favorites is Turk from Daredevil, where he's just, anytime they need like a lower level minion-esque character, like a street thug, it's always Turk. It's always Turk.
They have him on retainer.
Yeah.
He's the Huggy Bear of Daredevil.
But yeah, I love that. You know, like the running gags that supporting characters can have, but also the fact that they don't have to be great. They don't have to be good.
And it's always a callback too. It's always like something that you're just like, oh, I kind of like that character, even though like they're annoying me right now. I don't want anything to ever happen to them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We can kind of go down maybe a few more little like subcategories or whatever, because we've done the butler, assistant, mentor-y figure.
Kind of the friends.
Absolutely. We've done friends and colleagues
the
and
groupies.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think one that's kind of cool is like they're also a fellow badass, but they just happen to be more my supporting character. So Wong lately.
Oh, yes.
Like Wong, he's stole the show in Avengers. Gravengers. Let me pronounce it correctly. Gravengers. Again, Vicinity War. Gravengers Vicinity War was very okay. I'm done. Anyway, Avengers Infinity War. He stole the show.
Yeah, I mean he did and he didn't. He's Virginity War. I'm sorry. No, I mean he's so much different in the movie than he is in the comics. I mean, in the comics he doesn't really do magic, and so him kind of being on par with Doctor Strange is a little weird, but I guess it makes sense because he's sent to kind of support him and help him in helping the Sorcerer Supreme navigate magic. I mean, you would think that if he had that title anyway, he would be well-versed in it, but he's not.
It's like quasi-racist a bit. Like, it's more like just the trappings of the 70s that Doctor Strange was going to have this, like, Asian sidekick that was mysterious and stuff like that. He's kind of like Doctor Strange's Kato. Mm-hmm. You know, like a karate master that's, like, quiet and cool.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
like
his kind of history in the comics is really weird. It wasn't until Jason Aaron's run.
Super recent.
Which is super recent. I think it's like 2 writers ago.
Yeah.
But it's really recent. He became a badass and he was a really integral part to the story, especially in the end. But I mean, his whole job in that entire run is, since magic has a cost, Wong makes Doctor Strange all these nasty meals that would kill a normal person, but it's Doctor Strange's payment for using magic. So you just see him like going into this fridge that like tentacles and things are trying to kill him, and he's just making meals for him.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. He's a super Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, he's so cool though, because I mean, he knows so much about magic and he is always loyal to Doctor Strange.
Again, that loyalty thing.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's what makes a good supporting character. The number one thing they have to have is loyalty.
Yeah.
Through and through.
Also, the foil thing is there too a bit, I think. It's more pronounced now, but I think it's always been there a bit, which is that Doctor Strange can often be kind of like impetuous and make rash decisions. And Wong ends up being like, maybe don't summon all the demons today.
Yeah, well, the cool thing
Just 2 demons.
the cool thing about Wong is he doesn't say anything most of the time to him. He just literally is behind him with a broom and a dustpan, just cleaning up his mess. So it's just kind of cool. He's just this silent, like, okay, I'll fix this for you, man. Like,
I want to throw another one of those guys in there. Super badass, but usually just supporting character. Heimdall.
Yeah.
Our favorite.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in the comic books, he's still.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not
But
ready.
we'll see. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
No.
I mean,
I won't accept
he's
it either.
dead.
Well, you're talking about the movies.
Yeah, of
So
course.
in the comics, he's not dead.
Well, the trailer just dropped.
He's just
At the most morose tone.
I know. In the comics, he's just blind. He's just been blinded. He's fine. But anyway, so Heimdall's thing, if you don't know, he's like the guardian of the Rainbow Bridge, and I think that ends up being why he doesn't really do a lot of adventures.
He can't leave.
He has to stay there.
That's why he maintains himself as a kind of a supporting character in Thor comics. Because I'll be like, hey, Heimdall, what's up? It's like, well, in that universe over there that I'm looking at, so-and-so's being killed. Maybe do something about it. So he ends up being like an oracle figure.
Yeah.
Or
One
something
of the
like
cool,
that.
the moments that I like most about him is when you see him leave his post.
Yeah.
And he just
Decimates.
and it's so cool because it's like, can you guys not put somebody else there because you need him?
Well, similar to that Alfred thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like you don't do that so much, but then every once in a while you let him loose.
And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
But hey, you're not a superhero. Damn it.
Go back to your post.
And maybe this will be a cool segue into another thing. I think another badass warrior type that's mostly supportive is Okoye.
Yeah.
She's so badass.
Yeah. She's the leader.
She really, so in the movie, at least, I like her so much more than Black Panther.
Aw, I love Black Panther.
I do too, but I mean,
He's so princely.
yeah, but I think that's why I don't like him because he's just very like burp. Like he won't joke either, which is one thing.
Oh, don't get into Marvel humor
No,
with
no, no,
me
no,
right
no.
now.
I mainly meant more like it feels like
he
Black
doesn't even
Panther.
Batman joke.
Yeah.
Like
You know?
deadpan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just always
much.
in his role.
Yeah.
And I like Okoye because she has all these different types of things that she's doing, which as a supporting character, she should be doing.
Yeah.
Because she's, the support for him. She's always loyal. She's the protector. She's all of these things. But you do see a lot of personality in her in the few moments she's on screen.
I think because of the way that he is, it allows supporting characters to act that way. And I think it makes sense for him to act very dignified and princely. And again, it allows the periphery characters, the supporting characters,
They
to
can
kind
gesture around him.
Yeah, exactly. Like it allows more room for them to be crazy and rash and cool.
I concede that.
I'm gonna double down on Kayla's point in that the Jack Sparrow, what the Johnny Depp kind of thing.
Yeah.
is
I
almost
was
his
like,
famous.
that's not a comic book
superhero.
character.
Well, it's his famous case. He was originally a supporting character in the first movie,
Yeah.
and he took that over, and it was a lot of people have complained about it being really he's less interesting if he's the protagonist.
Yeah.
And it's like there is this danger sometimes of characters who are supporting to outshine the main character, and I think it's not that they should make them the main characters now. It's that means your main character's a bit boring.
Yeah.
If your supporting characters are just outshining the crap out of, then I think sometimes like because the thing is, I think you're right about Black Panther, but he could maybe be a little bit more.
I don't know. When everyone has the same default hero personality, I think that's boring.
That's what I'm talking about. I think that Black Panther feels, especially in that. I know we can't get into this, but like, and the difference is Black Panther in Civil War is to me so much better than in his own movie.
I agree.
Because it's not so much like what the character can be, but it's like just what they did with him or whatever. But anay,
I think only because it was maybe small doses and it was the first thing. I'm not saying like I have problems with the character. I'm just saying like if watching,
I will die on this mountain.
Yeah,
you cannot move me.
we all agree he's a great character. But
I like him a lot. I think it's really interesting to see this Prince type character and stuff like that. It's really cool. I'm just saying, like, out of all the characters that were in Black Panther, it's like, I really like Okoye. And she was such a badass in Infinity War. I mean, fighting Proxima Midnight.
No, it's like, I love Black Panther. It's just, if only he had longer hair and had a trident was underwater. Then maybe
do not start that.
I can't wait, though. Anyway, okay. No, but Okoye is awesome. She is the head of the Dora Milaje, which is the coolest word
that is cool
as ever.
So
it sounds like
the Dora Milaje.
Nice. Yeah.
It sounds like a fancy drink.
It does. Yeah. If you don't, and I just think it's a cool feminist move that they did with this too, because the Dora Milaje originally were the wives of all the tribes of Wakanda. They would like nominate a woman to be his wife, but Black Panther being like, I already have someone I'm in love with. He's inherently monogamous for some reason. Decides he's going to treat the Dora Milaje more as friends and mentors and bodyguards than his potential wives. Okoye being like number one in that shit.
Yeah.
And she just kicks so much ass. And she's become this weird like Alfred, but with a vibranium spear that'll cut your nuts off character. That's just awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, she's really cool. I think they did a fantastic job with her interpreting in the movies and everything. I think
absolutely
really good.
And there really do need to be maybe and more now, more in the last 20 years, I'd say more women in this role,
like supporting characters.
Yes.
You're right. Like most of the ones we're talking about, men.
You made a good point before we started the show. Just that like a lot of it's just because they're potential. Women are seen, or used to be especially, as like romantic figures.
They default to the love interest as opposed to just being like the mentor character, the friend, bad guy.
Etta Candy is a good example of that. I mean, not necessarily love interest, but she was a joke in the beginning, which that's fine. It was the times and stuff like that. And then they started making her like corporal and lieutenant and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay. Like that she has some importance and everything.
Some agency is given to this character.
Yeah. And then now, like in the Rebirth run, you know, she's a commander, I think it is, or something like that. And she works very close with Argus and Steve Trevor. And like she has a lot of importance. And they made her Wonder Woman's origin really focused on her relationship with Etta.
Which is great.
Yeah, so, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's a really cool relationship because it kind of looks like Etta's like Wonder Woman's Alfred. They always are loyal to each other, and as soon as Wonder Woman knows that she's in trouble, she like freaks out. She's like, "Not my Etta."
They need to start dating. I am such an advocate for lesbian Wonder Woman.
Well, I think Etta does like women.
Yeah. What's that?
Etta does like women.
Really?
Hell, she's a lesbian.
I think you almost undersell that point because I think that she's way ahead of her time.
Oh yeah,
Etta Candy is insane.
Yeah,
just like Wonder Woman.
And but at conception, he was saying like, "Yikes, this is probably obviously
it was bad." Like she was this really chubby, overweight secretary type character that was literally eating all the time.
Well, this is interesting. There's been a debate about that now, and I think it's a up in the air kind of thing where, you know, they tried to take that away, and a lot of people were mad. But so
yeah, I mean,
I think it's the treatment of it. Yeah. Like I think having diverse body types, diverse skin color, diversity in comics is so good, but you have to treat it appropriately.
It can't be the butt of the joke.
Yeah, exactly. Don't treat it like a joke. And I think that's what the problem was initially.
Now, when they've had her as a woman of size, they have her own that rather than be like,
well,
someone
it's not the thing you notice. Like, her size isn't the thing that makes her the character.
I feel the same thing about Foggy, too. Going back,
But it's one of the things, it's like if they change it with no explanation outside of just we want to make it better, that's thinner, then that could be bad.
They did change Etta quite a bit in Rebirth. Only that, like, it's not a problem for me. It's just a little weird that she's
black, isn't she?
She is black, which is fine, but she resembles so much of Amanda Waller.
I heard about
this. Like, even like the way she looks, the way she acts and everything. So it was like Amanda Waller doesn't really look like that anymore in the comics. So it was like, oh, we want that character still. So we'll make Etta Candy this.
No, you're right. That's so dumb. That's like, we need to update her. What do we do? Make her Amanda Waller.
Yeah, I mean, so it's, exactly. It's not even
enough.
It's not even the skin color or anything. It's just
the role and her
this
demeanor.
is Amanda Waller. She happens to be working with Argus. Like, it's like, oh, come on.
I also don't love thin Amanda Waller. I like the Wall. I like.
Oh yeah,
Marsha Warfield looking motherfucker. Waller.
That intimidating presence.
Viola Davis, I think she played her in the movie and Suicide Squad.
Viola
She did
Davis,
a fantastic job because she's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
But if we're depicting her just in her form,
Yeah, when she like looks like she's about to like throw the wall down, like it's intimidating. But there is this also other interesting kind of supporting characters when villains have it. And so the one that I like the most, and it's like a Harley Quinn type thing, is Mercy Graves. So Lex Luthor, it started in the animated series. Again, there's so many characters that came from the animated series. I love
that,
Yeah, like Livewire and Mercy and everything.
It's just because of, what's the dude's name? Is it Bruce Timm? There's like two guys that are associated with those shows.
Paul Dini.
It's because they were so goddamn good.
Yeah.
They are some of the best people in comics. It just happened to be animated. So it's like, of course they're going to create these amazing characters that people are going to use later on.
Yeah. And Mercy is just a dark Alfred, essentially. Like in the comics, she's a bodyguard to Lex Luthor. She's always like stoic, and then like if Lex Luthor's trying to get away, he gets in the limousine, and then she like turns around, takes off her like chauffeur hat, and she's like, "It's go time." It's like, oh, okay.
The best part for me about Mercy, at least for a while, when the character was sort of just getting more consistent, is the Mercy puns that Luthor would throw out. Like,
is there Mercy puns?
Oh yeah, because so I'm not a good enough writer to come up this on the top of my head, is that she would like beat the shit out of somebody and Luthor would look down at them and like, I think next time you'll find I have mercy.
Oh might as well my look God. At how did puns trickle in again?
I'm sorry, that just happened. He might as well have looked at the camera of the panel.
If you want to know why Kayla's so upset about puns, just listen to the Aquaman episode.
It was ridiculous. Again, in small doses. I'm probably being a little bit of a brat right now, but I'm so done.
It's so funny because people left reviews with puns. People messaged us with puns.
Well, and it's like, we just wanted to talk about Aquaman in that way because we felt like he brought heroism to a new level, like sea level.
I knew it.
That was our reason. That was our purpose for doing it.
Bye. I'm not signing off.
No, okay, I'm done. But you're absolutely right. And what's weird is that that we could almost do an episode unto itself about, because they're not usually supporting characters; they're henchmen. When it's villains, it's henchmen. So Mercy's like
kind of.
No, but you're right. It's a supporting character.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's a little above henchmen. Like, it's Lex Luthor, Mercy, and then all of the pawns.
Yeah.
So it's more like Lex Luthor would give an order, Mercy would then give the order to them.
Yeah.
So
second in command, but the lieutenant.
But then Roz has got that. Is it Ubu? Is his name? I could be wrong.
He's really cool, but also just like, you got to change the name. I can't. The demon has a right hand man that's name is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I am the demon that stalks at night. This is Ubu. It's too much. He's just such a bootlicking supplicant too. It's just too much.
But yeah, back to Mercy. She does. I mean, she kind of encapsulates all of the stuff we talked about, and that's why I think she's so interesting. Because for the longest time, she was hired with this other girl named Hope in the comics. Like when she premiered in the comics.
Hope and Mercy.
Yeah.
Oh. Why do I never think of these things before?
I didn't think about it.
I don't know. That one was pretty obvious, friends.
Yeah. Shut up. But it was said that she was like an Amazon, and like it was just really weird. It was like, oh, she's really popular in the TV show. Let's take her and completely change her. And of course it didn't work. I mean, why would you change the character like that? She went away and came back. And then the thing I'm most upset about with Mercy is in fucking Batman versus Superman. She was in it. I was super excited, was waiting for her to kick ass. She doesn't and gets blown up.
Yeah.
Immediately. Like, I was like, oh, that's so cool. They finally have Mercy in the movie. I would have never thought to see Mercy. Then she dies.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Lex Luthor was in that movie either.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, too. I don't think so either, because he would never do that to Mercy. Like, he does have this weird kind of Harley Quinn Joker relationship with her.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't kill his best asset, his best bodyguard.
That's one reason he wasn't in the movie, yeah.
Yes.
But I think there's a few more people we can kind of run down, or at least sort of nod at.
Honorable mention.
Or at least just the kind, like, I think we just go through real quick. There's the tech guy. The tech guy ends up being
like
Lucius Fox.
What, Micro?
Micro. I was from Punisher.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Also great, I think. And they had a falling out, so that was kind of a cool thing. Yeah. There's also, if we can talk about the Incredibles, there's
yes!
Edna Mode.
Yes! She's amazing!
She is so good.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Not technically a superhero comic origin, but a superhero movie, so it kind of
we
counts.
do all mean.
We're roping him in.
Yeah.
And she's also, I mean, I think this kind of supporting character is important because they often end up being a kind of like, not covering over plot holes or something like that, but if superheroes need a thing for a particular story, then that's the go-to.
Yeah.
So, Lucius ends up you're fighting an aquatic, here's a boat. I got a boat for you, buddy.
Yeah, that was good. That is funny that a lot of times the supporting characters or characters that the heroes always need something or need their first suit or need it upgraded is always that supporting character. So let's go with the qualifications to be a supporting hero.
Yeah.
You either need to know how to make suits, gadgets,
clean suits,
fight, clean your room,
give moral support.
You're listing the resume of a supporting character, basically.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. These are the qualifications.
Experience.
And then I think I do want to mention this too because I find it really interesting. Some of my favorite supporting characters they're not villains, but they're antagonistic. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like J. Jonah Jameson. We talked about him before.
Yeah.
He's not a friend of Peter Parker most of the time.
Yeah.
And especially of Spider-Man. Yeah,
he's an antagonistic character towards
Peter.
Peter.
He has a soft spot for him.
He does. I think for Peter, yeah. I think so. But he's, I don't know if it was a little trivia. He commissioned the Scorpion.
Yeah, he made the Scorpion.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love his excuse with it too. He was like, "Oh, I didn't know he was crazy." Well, did you not look at his background or anything?
We took a normal guy, a normal detective, and we pumped Scorpion DNA into his brain. Gave him a giant tail, and something went wrong.
I like his excuse too, because he's like, "We just wanted a Spider-Man we could trust." It's why? Yeah. You made him a scorpion?
Yeah. So much more friendly than spiders.
I would trust a spider before I trust a scorpion.
This is Ladybug.
That's even better. And there is a character named Ladybug.
Ladybug, but he went with Scorpion. It was terrifying. It was slightly beat out a venom spitting cobra. That was the other character.
Which, that is a character too.
Of course.
And then there's also this is another popular trope, which for the Justice League, for the Avengers and stuff like that, there's the kind of crooked or mean or dirty government liaison. So there's a character, Avengers fans will know, Henry Peter Gyrick, and he also ends up in the X-Men, and he ends up being a big plot character because he ends up the one coming in and saying, like, the government says you have too many members on your team, Avengers, you got to get rid of Hawkeye. We only have 6 parking lot spots. You got to get rid of Hawkeye or whatever. So he ends up always being that character, but he's there a lot. And he's pretty fleshed out as a character too. Like, they give him sort of backstory and reason, but he's very suspicious.
Yeah, that's like the like General Langs and like all of those characters that always come in. And why it's so weird that they always paint the government like that.
Thunderbolt Ross is another one.
So you have the actual government of whatever country that's always like that, or causing trouble or making it harder for the heroes. But then you have these fictional sub-secret organizations that are good, quotes, but are always doing experiments. It's so weird that, like, is that what they think the government is? Like,
I think it's pretty. I think they would be that way just because, like, it's like once you enter in like the Thunderbolt Ross's, or I guess he's Secretary Ross in the movies. His point about Thor and Hulk, where he mentions like,
you have 2 loose nukes.
Yeah, if I lost 2 nuclear warheads, I'd probably be in trouble.
Yeah.
I think that they would look at superheroes as like
assets.
Really, well, and also competing rogue powers.
Kind of like wild cards, like they can't control. Like Luther's thing.
Yeah, so that's a lot of supporting characters. We went through a lot of them really quick. But there's such a cool part to all of these characters within the comics and movies.
It adds color.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. And they're always the people that everybody's like, oh, I love them so much. Don't let anything happen to them.
Of course.
Except for Mercy, probably.
And you can't miss them.
No.
Like, they're going to be there.
Yeah, I like that. They're consistently there, which makes recommendations hard.
Yeah. And then, we had a really hard time coming up with recommendations for this because they're spurts throughout a lot of things.
Yeah, how do you, like, what's the background character in, like, what's the main, when are they the main character? It happens sometimes.
Yeah. So with my recommendation, I'll recommend one for Wong and then one for Mercy. So for Wong, I had already mentioned it. I think it's the best example of what Wong can be. And he had a really integral part in Jason Aaron's run for, Doctor Strange. Couldn't remember the hero's name.
Where is he from?
Read Jason Aaron's run. Towards the end of it, he has this really big part. He was doing stuff throughout the entire series, and then it comes to a head. Really good. And then for Mercy, I'm gonna kind of recommend the animated series of Superman. It's the 5th season in the 5th episode, I believe. It's called A Little Piece of Home. And that's where Mercy's first kind of introduced and everything with Lex.
Going back to her origin.
Yeah. Easy one. You can watch a TV show or read a comic.
I know. Yeah. Both of mine, not comic books.
Daring.
I know. For Alfred, there was just so many good moments and he's just so consistently there. But I'm going to recommend the Lego Batman movie because I feel like that encapsulates, like it just highlights everything that Alfred is. Yes. To the Bat family in general, not just to Bruce.
He becomes like a superhero at the end,
exactly.
too.
I'm like, everything that's cool about Alfred is in the Lego Batman movie, and it's a fantastic movie.
When he does the montage of all the times Batman's had a nervous breakdown, basically.
And then I guess for Foggy, watch Daredevil.
Oh, the TV show.
Every single
just the first episode.
They're all great.
That is true. I was a little late to the bandwagon and I started watching it and I really liked him.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Right out the gate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go old school nerd-tacular with mine.
Are you doing comics? How late?
I am, I know. It's one of my weaknesses. The first one I'm going to do is about Jarvis, right? Okay. It's a story called, it's kind of been put together under 2 names, Avengers Under Siege or Avengers Attack on the Mansion. So this is, I think, back in the 80s, and the Masters of Evil, hate them. They attack the mansion. It's this weird home invasion story, but the way they punctuate how messed up it is that they did this was everybody's like, they did what to Jarvis? Aww. And so Jarvis ends up being this sort of character that is in some ways like a rallying point for all the Avengers to like kick these.
Like they care.
Yes, and they certainly do. So that's been compiled in trades a lot. You can look for that on the blog. And then here's one on Jonah Jameson. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 251. It's really cool because rather than just be like this background character or like this obstacle. They really flesh out his character. I'll give you just a hint so you'll be attracted to this. J. Jonah Jameson hates Spider-Man because he's a liar and he doesn't tell the truth. And then you find out that, as we all know, we mentioned J. Jonah Jameson helped create the Spider-Man, the Scorpion, but nobody knows about it. And he's being blackmailed. And the story is in a lot of ways about like how he deals with the cognitive dissonance of being like a champion for truth and the bugle and everything like that, and also being a piece of shit. Okay. And I'll find for the blog a trade that's collected it for you.
Nice.
But, yep.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, and one more thing.
Uh-huh.
Never mind. I'm not going to say this because by the time this episode comes out, the sweepstakes will be over. Never mind.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the winner. Who won?
Insert winner here.
Yeah. Next time.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut all this out.
Yep.
I got you.
Makes sense.
All right.
Boogers. You're going to cut it out. So I can say boogers.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
The cold mics.
All right.
Oh, I didn't mention my... No, we're done. But
I was going to end the show by saying thank you.
Oh, in the show.
Good God. Jesus.
In the old show.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at The Phantom Zone Pod for more podcast updates.